So this video is going to go over the major regions of the brain and some of the features of the brain's surface. So when we first look at this brain model, what you see mostly is what most people think of the brain. That's called the cerebrum. So all of this wrinkled, pinkish, tan tissue is the cerebrum. And notice it comes in two cerebral hemispheres with a big trench between them. That long trench doesn't actually pass all the way through the brain, but it does go quite deep, and it is called the longitudinal fissure. Now, here on the surface of the cerebrum, I'll look at this hemisphere over here. This will be the right hemisphere. Notice that there are these raised wrinkles. These are known as the gyri. Each one is a gyrus. And then to separate this gyrus from this gyrus, there's a shallow groove called a sulcus. So everywhere it goes down in, it's called a sulcus. The plural is sulci. And everywhere it sticks up is a gyrus. The plural is gyri. Okay, now also let's talk about white matter and gray matter. On the entire surface of the cerebrum, this first brain region, the first 2 to 4 millimeters thick is going to be unmyelinated cell bodies, known as gray matter, because remember, naked nervous tissue looks gray. I'm going to turn this model over to the side, and you can see inside. Okay, we have some other models that will allow us to look inside, but all of this would continue all through here, everywhere you see gyri and sulci, and then that outer gray matter layer on the outside is going to be called the cortex. And then inside the brain hemispheres is going to be myelinated axons for all of those neurons, and so it's going to be called white matter. So in the brain, especially in the cerebrum, we have gray matter primarily on the surface, and the interior is going to be primarily made of white matter. Okay. Now, when we were looking over here at the gyri and sulci, there's going to be one sulcus that's going to be really, really important. I'm going to put it right here. I'll show it to you right here. It kind of goes right from the center of one side of the head, and you can kind of follow it around, and it would go around to the other side. Now, we have one model that is color-coded for this particular sulcus. I'm going to show it to you here. Okay, let me move this one to the side. And so this one is really obvious. This is my sulcus I'm talking about. And since it is in the middle, we're going to call this one the Central Sulcus. And it's going to divide the front of the brain, the frontal lobes of the brain, from the back of the brain where the parietal lobes and occipital lobes are. Okay, so that one groove is called the Central Sulcus. The gyrus in front of it and behind it are named by their position around the Central Sulcus. So this one is going to be called the Precentral Gyrus, and this one will be called the Postcentral Gyrus. We'll learn in lecture how the Precentral Gyrus is your primary motor cortex, and the Postcentral Gyrus is your primary somatosensory cortex. Okay, so they're all part of what we call the cerebrum. Okay, we can go back to this model, and we're going to open it up so we can see the other brain regions. So we're going to look here at a sagittal cut. So all of this is cerebrum, and then if we look here in the center, we see this region right here. This is called the diencephalon, and it's going to have parts to it like the thalamus, the epithalamus, and the hypothalamus. So that is brain region number 2. Then we start the brainstem, which has 3 sections. This upper part is called the midbrain. This middle part, where we have this big rounded piece coming towards the front, is the pons. And then this last section of the brainstem is called the medulla oblongata. So midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata. Those 3 pieces together make the brainstem. The final area of the brain is back here. It is under the cerebrum and behind the brainstem. Notice it looks different texturally. Instead of gyri and sulci, we have these little folds right here called folia. And it also has some hemispheres and things that we will go over in detail later. But this is called the cerebellum. So we have cerebrum, inside the middle, diencephalon, the 3 parts of the brainstem, and the cerebellum. Those are the major regions of the brain.